right. Good morning. Thank you for joining in on the March CEDEN user group meeting. We'll give it just another minute. I did start the recording. Last time I forgot well into the meeting, so I wanted to do that first thing. But we'll give it another minute or two. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks again for joining us for the March CEDEN user group meeting. My name is Jarma Bennett with the Office of Information Management and Analysis at the State Water Board. Today, most of the time is going to be devoted to our passive sampler business rules, which I think we are hopefully very close on. And I did want to start out with an update regarding the vocabulary business rules we've been talking about the last couple meetings. I did get those updated on the CEDEN website, so I can show you that. If you go to CEDEN.org, submit data. Number 3, controlled vocabulary. New vocabulary request template. You'll see this one here has been updated. It says 2/17 because that's when I started making the updates to the workbook, but it did just get actually posted today. I had to do some remediation to make it accessible as required by our web support unit. And I'm going to bring that over. Back over. So one of the things I had to do, we did have a dark blue header highlighting for a couple of the conditional formats. And I changed that to a light blue. It looks a little close to the gray, but hopefully enough. There really are just a couple of them, and they, I hardly ever get, or I don't think I've ever gotten them filled out. So I left them in, but if we can, we may want to consider moving away from designating required fields using colors. But at this point, I just kept it. Let's see what else. And I noted the other changes that we've talked about. And I put that note in the project and QAP tabs about not just referencing a SWAMP QAP or the SWAMP QAPRP. We talked about the microbial source tracking analyte business rules and the isotope dilution analog business rules, and then just the some of the formatting changes for accessibility going to the analyte business rules. You can see I added those at the end that we talked about. The isotope dilution analog is here, and the microbial source tracking ones we talked about here, and put a couple of examples showing those. So that's now available. Hopefully it includes the recent things we've talked about regarding vocabulary requests, business rule changes. Any questions about that? Okay. Then we will move on to our passive sampler entry. On our agenda, I kind of just wanted to put some of the things that have kind of shaped our path as we've discussed this passive sampler business rules, and kind of how we got to where we are. And so without putting that all in the document, but I just kind of, it was helpful for myself to go through that. So I included it there. And I did receive a couple of comments since I sent it out yesterday. So I made some changes. So now we're, I'd say version 9. I had here for these results talking about the SPMD calculations that the provider is encouraged, but I changed it to a little bit stronger, just shall also add the calculated aqueous concentration. And again, these are just changes. These highlighted yellows are changes since what I sent out yesterday morning with the agenda. And Marco noted, thank you, Marco, that I was being inconsistent with our current business rules for adding prep preservation names, and I didn't have a comma, so I just highlighted the 1 comma, but I added it to all the places where there was a combined prep preservation. And I did add another, I think when we spoke last time, I had added this one picture trying to demonstrate that there are multiple sorbents per housing. And I just had this one picture of a polar organic chemical integrative sampler. And that Cajun James sent me and then it suggested I also add another example showing that. So she had some several photos, but I just picked the stock kind of image, I think provided on the ChemCatcher website of a ChemCatcher to kind of be more consistent with the other one that I'd provided. But again, that there are multiple, in this case, disk housings per device. And Marco also noted that in this second section where it explains how to enter the aqueous concentration result, I had just put sample water, but that it could also be pore water. So I just added that matrix as well. And he had, oh, up here I missed this one. That I didn't highlight. I think this is it. I said could be found, just more using calculated instead to denote that you're calculating that result. Marco had also suggested that in the top section that we kind of make reference to the number of different analytes that USGS has provided coefficients for, and I was just looking into that before the meeting, and I think it would get a little bit complicated because they have two different calculators, one for where there are PRCs and one for where there isn't, and they have different numbers of analytes. So actually I both have them both up. The one that does use PRCs, actually I think this is that one, has a lot more analytes, almost 300, including all the different PCB congeners. But then
these spreadsheets, like you notice, are available online. So since the version, right, is going to be referenced, people can look it up if they want to know.
Yeah, so yeah, because it's there, and because of the varying numbers for each type, I think that we should leave that specific out and leave it as it is. So those were the changes that I made since the last, again, since what I sent out yesterday. And from what I sent out yesterday from the time before, I think I mostly just cleaned up that there are these two different methods for entering, or two different results, types of results. One, the mass of analyte per sorbent, and the aqueous concentration, and kind of just clean that up. Adam, it looks like you have a question.
Yeah, thank you. I just had a couple questions. So one was about like matrix, and this is me not being super duper familiar with sort of in the field passive sampling, but are things like runoff, influent, effluent, would those be possible matrix types as well?
I would think that runoff might be hard because I think they have to be continuously in water, and so that might be variable. So that one might be hard, but I think effluent is an option that we could add.
The next question was about, I think I've asked this before, and I think the answer was that this is just about water and sorbents, but we've done some passive samplers in the past where it's like it passively over time collects sediment. And sort of similarly, you don't have a concentration exactly because it's, you know, accumulated sediment over weeks or whatever. But I think the answer was that that's not what this is for. Is that true?
Well, I guess
for
I thought
water samplers.
That the poor water was really, if you're exposing it to, you know, you'd really be getting the water within the sediment. But how would you be exposing a sampler to sediment, like within the water?
So it was the ones we've used in the past. I believe that they're capturing like suspended sediments or something. So it's like they sit in a stream bed, and then for like a while, and then you take them out, and then there's you analyze the like kind of sludge that's in them. So it's fine if it doesn't apply. I just wanted to double check because it's not solvent.
Because it's what,
you're
not
directly
wet?
Analyzing. There's no sorbent. You're directly analyzing sediment.
So is it kind of more like analyzing what's being filtered out, like okay.
It's okay.
Okay.
I'll ignore that for now.
It sounds like it does
The
sound
last
different.
Yeah, okay. The last question was like there was a comment in the meeting notes about how like ideally the CEDEN template would store like extra information and sort of all the stuff that we're currently sort of shoving in collection device. And I was just curious, sort of with this, and maybe like with the microbial analytes where there's sort of lots of extra information in there. Is this something where these are sort of, you know, temporary fixes and then there will be additional fields and like an easier way of doing this in CEDEN 2.0? Or is this like the way it will be forever?
I think that we're hoping that CEDEN 2.0 will allow us to have expand into different types of data more easily than we do now. But we haven't really looked at these types, given that we're just looking at, you know, at first prioritizing accommodating things that we take now. And so I hope that that would be an option, but I can't say that we will necessarily take that up or necessarily not take it up.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Jarmar, this is Marco. I think I could help add to that point. So for bioassessment, the benthic, chlorophyll, and ash-free dry mass analytes that are collected, we record composite volume, filter volumes in the as a habitat result so that people can see what those values are. So if they want to back calculate from a benthic chlorophyll or benthic ash-free dry mass result, they can actually do that in combination with the area sampled. So that would be an option, is for some of these extra analytes like the coefficients for the calculations. You know, analytes can be created and they can be stored in the habitat results table.
So it sounds like we could do more even just within what we have now. If we wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you know of, I mean, do you know of anybody that does that calculation? I mean, it's good to have things available in case people do want them, but if I'm just wondering about priority of adding those additional analytes. If people aren't likely to do it, then it's less of a priority for me.
Yeah, I don't know how likely people are, but it just provides more information. You know, the composite volume and filter volumes are kind of important when you're not only looking at the benthic, chlorophyll, and ash-free dry mass, but also just the taxonomy data that's associated with those samples, because it gives you an idea of whether 500 mils was filtered or collected, or if it was, you know, 750. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say, I guess, critical, but it's part of the SOP. It's required for field crews to collect. And so we just worked out the constituents to be able to store that information in case somebody ever wanted to get more information about the samples and the analyses.
Yeah, I think we can, you know, people should be collecting, or can be collecting the temperature and the pH, the things that some of the things, attributes that we talked about that go into the sampling rate, but we don't have a place for sampling rate itself, and that was important, and that it seems a little different than something that you actually did collect during your sampling. So you know, I think we could, I agree that we could take additional steps to provide some of that as part of a different data type, and so people could query that out if using the same, you know, sampling time and station and things, like it sounds like they do for the chlorophyll or, maybe in CEDEN 2.0, once we accommodate the things that we already have, we could look at just expanding the template or a different EDD to more easily have those data together. But I think either way, I think where we are now is is a good start for a couple of years at least, and hopefully will allow people to get more familiar with the devices if they haven't. I understand that some people are very familiar already, but not everybody is in that boat. So as we use them more and see more data, that should help if we have a second iteration of this. Jenny.
I don't see the benefit of adding effluent as a matrix, right? Because it's either you're sampling water, which is effluent or surface water, influent, or you're sampling pore water.
Well, for CEDEN vocabulary, we one of our already identified matrix that exists is effluent, and it is noted as different from sample water, which is supposed to be more water body, surface water.
Okay, so sample water is CEDEN surface water.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments? Tori.
Hi, Dermot. I'm sorry, I keep on asking, but are you still gonna put it in the template before it's fully approved so we can see it in the template? I just have a hard time visualizing it this way, and I'm really hoping we can see it within the template. Because sometimes when you actually put it in, the template, you see things differently.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was I was thinking you just were wanting it to have an example, and I was waiting to finalize them to make that example. But if you think
it makes sense. I'm just wondering before we fully finalize it, if it might be helpful to look at it that way. But I mean, if everybody is good with it, I feel like seeing it that way helps me. But I think that's just because I stare at templates all day. So
I think that would help me also, because then you could see like what the data you're actually entering is and where it goes.
Yeah. Okay, I will try to put that together before and send it out maybe, and then we can before we totally finalize it. But I will. Sounds like we're pretty close, or I'm not seeing many other comments or concerns with what we have now, so I'll follow what we have now to put in that example.
okay, thank you so much, Dharma. That'll be helpful.
Okay, well, we don't have other comments now, then I think we can adjourn, and I can get working on what Tori was just suggesting, and use what we have here as our to do that example, as I said, and then we can meet again. I think it was the April 21st at our next meeting. Oh,
hey, Dharma, I just had a quick question too. I see where you put the template for the lookups on the website, but remind me, I think, where do you put these documents that have all the business rules? Are those on the website somewhere? The more defined business rules like you did for the IDA?
So those are being incorporated into the data entry guidance documents. It's just not done yet because we had to they haven't been updated since we started being more compliant with our accessibility requirements. So that the guidance document is having to be remediated to fit those. And so it's taking longer, but it will be going into those guidance documents.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for joining in, and I will talk to you again later. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Jarma.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Take care.
You too.